Good evening and welcome to Spooky South Coast. Tim Weisberg here, along with the silent assassin Matt Costa. And we are live here on WBSM and broadcasting on Spooky TV at SpookySouthCoast.com, talking about the paranormal as we do each and every Saturday night. We're getting a little echo there, Matt. Is it the... I'm hearing it. Is it me? Am I saying things twice? I think it's probably the computer speaker's probably up. I tend to turn that up sometimes and forget to turn it down. We are here to talk about the paranormal as we do each and every Saturday night. And tonight, it's just Matt and I. It's old school tonight. It's like the opening times of Spooky South Coast. The old days when it was just the two of us, and I won't sing, but those pre-Moniz days when the two of us had to kind of carry the whole show ourselves. And we're going to do that again tonight. But we're also going to ask for you to call in as well at 508-996-0500, 877-996-1420. If you want to call in and talk paranormal with us throughout the course of the night, it will be paranormal open lines. You can talk about anything that's on your mind. If you want to ask a question, share a theory, tell us about one of your experiences, talk about some past guests, maybe even talk about some of the drama going on in the paranormal world. It's all on the table. And the good thing about these nights is, you know, we have a lot of people that ask us, they say, hey, when are you going to just have a night where you take calls from the callers? And I always say the same thing. Well, callers can call in anytime. We'll take a call any show. Generally, if we have a guest, we prefer that the question has to do with the guest, but we do take calls throughout the course of other shows where, you know, the guest hasn't joined us yet, or it's a little bit later in the show, and so the lines are always open. But people ask to do open line shows, and whenever we do, nobody calls. And I know that we have a live listening audience. There's tons of people in the chat room. Want to say hi to all of them. There's tons of people that are listening live. You know how we know? Because every once in a while we bring on a psychic, and the psychic will give free readings to the callers, and the phone lines are lit up through the entire show. I think the last time we did it, we took 24 calls or 26 calls in an hour and a half of people that just wanted to get free readings. So the people are out there. So you have no excuse. I want to say, good job there, Bart L., getting the perfect comments up on the screen on Spooky TV when, as soon as Matt puts up the chat on the screen, he just happened to have I can't say it on the radio, but it's there. That is the Bart L legacy. $200. So the phone lines are already lighting up, so that's a good sign. I don't know where this is going to go. This could be crazy. This could get me fired. But let's start off by taking some calls right at the beginning here. Good evening. You are on Spooky South Coast.
Good evening, Tim.
How are you?
Good. I was just getting to bed, and I turned your show on, and I said, gee, I should give him a call because I've recently come into a lot of money, for one thing. And I'm thinking of purchasing the Lizzie Borden house. My younger sister wants to have a bed and breakfast, take over the bed and breakfast there. So we'll have to get in contact so you can do some ghost hunting there. I heard you found a few spirits.
Oh, yeah. I've investigated there quite a bit over the years. I don't know if it's necessarily for sale. I know.
Oh, yeah, I heard it is.
Well, it was the other house was for sale, Maplecroft, which is...
the one I'm talking about, I don't recall where it is, but I think the address is on 2nd Street.
That's 92 2nd Street is the original Lizzie Borden Bed and Breakfast. That's the house where the murders took place.
Right, that's the one that's supposed to be up for sale.
I know that it's... Here's what's been going on. I can give you a little bit of a recap.
Oh, that's good.
Is last year, earlier last year, or late last year, I should say, the owner of Maplecroft, which is the house that Lizzie Borden purchased after the trial,
right.
And where she lived, and that's on... why am I blanking? French Street. And so that house was privately owned for years by a man named Robert Doobie. He sold it to Christy Bates a few years ago, and she started the process of renovating it to turn it into a bed and breakfast. She ran into all kinds of problems with going up against the city and trying to get approvals and all this and that. It was just a huge headache for her. So she wanted to get out from under it, and she put that house up for sale. And then the people who own the 2nd Street home where the murders took place,
Right.
they're the ones that actually purchased Maplecroft. So now they own both houses.
Oh, because I got online because I saw it in the paper, and the one on 2nd Street. In fact, I went online and I looked at all the photos that it had 245 photos of the inside of it, and it was very interesting. I like the antique furniture, and the whole setup is like
so that was probably the Maplecroft house.
No, this was the 2nd Street house.
That seems odd because I'm pretty. I mean, I know that they're business people, so
Right.
I'm sure they would be willing to listen to any offer. If somebody came in and blew them away with an offer, naturally you're going to listen. But from what I understand,
I saw it in the paper for a little over $800,000.
that was definitely the Maplecroft house then.
No, that was the 2nd Street.
The 2nd Street house is I believe valued at more than that.
Well, that's what they were asking in the paper.
About how long ago was it in the paper?
I want to say maybe 3 or 4 months ago, because I've had my eye on since I'm coming into some money. I've had my eye on different properties, and that's what I wanted to do for my younger sister, because she wanted to open a bed and breakfast.
Are you on Facebook or have access to email or anything like that?
I do, but I don't use it because the amount of money that I'm coming into, I've only limited myself to phone calls because my winnings have come up on the computer in my email, and I've had calls from hackers and telemarketers, and so I've limited myself to 3 people I contact. One is an FBI agent, the other is a corporate lawyer on Capitol Hill, and the third one is the manager of one of the sweepstakes companies that I've won. And those are the only, if I receive calls, I check those numbers, and if there's any number different, I hang up on them because they told me that I would be barraged with phone calls, which I have been.
So is this the same gentleman that calls in during the week and has been having the issue with the Publishers Clearinghouse?
I didn't have I did have in the beginning an issue with them, but I have one, which I'll be collecting next week, June 1st. I'll be collecting over $100 million in 2 cars.
Well, I'm glad that it worked out because I know that you were having some issues.
No, the issues I was having were on my end. I have bad credit, and when they attempted to make my delivery, I have a negative bank account balance, so they couldn't deposit the certified checks. So that got held up. And I'm getting my pension the last day of the month, and I'm going to clear up my bank balance. And I've got another, the corporate lawyer and the FBI agent. They went through about a week and a half ago. They indicted about 20 people because I had sent money, and they were supposed to send me in good faith. They were supposed to send me, they had checks and cars. Well, they were supposed to send me a car. So there was something like 20 people indicted, and I can't go into figures, but I got a big litigation against the government for holding my prize.
Yeah, it seems, I mean, hey, my bank account's negative all the time, and my paychecks still go through, so I don't know why there would be a holdup for that.
See, they go through, but I haven't had an opportunity to replenish my account. And I was sent a check from my pharmacy because they overcharged me $20, and I went to have that deposited, but at a different bank, and they said, we can't deposit this because you've got a negative balance.
That's weird.
So I'm learning a little bit about banking, too.
Yeah, I guess you have to if you're going to come into that much money.
Yeah, and I'm going to be getting other properties. A very good friend of mine, if you want some really old properties to look for ghosts, because he told me it was haunted. He used to live on Mill Road near the sawmill in Acushnet.
Mm-hmm.
One of those houses, I think he said, was built in 17-something. And when he was living there, he said that he felt it was haunted because he'd hear certain noises different times of the day, and things would move in the house. So that it's one of these old Revolutionary Days houses that might have a lot of spirits in them.
I think there's a lot of places like that around here, especially in that area. And I think that the the Acushnet River is something that's charging up a lot of that paranormal activity, because running water will power up, it charges up the ions in the atmosphere, and that certainly will help power up some of these hauntings. That's why we always say places that are like near running water will have more activity, and the Acushnet River certainly seems to be powering up a lot of the places that are in that area.
And I was kind of disappointed in myself because I wanted to go when you did down at the Fort Tabor and Fort Rodman, because I heard that was really spectacular, and I wanted to go there, and I didn't have a chance to go there that night. You did the ghost hunt there. I heard that was very interesting.
It is. It's one of my favorite places to investigate, and I've had some of my strangest experiences there. The problem is that the city, the lawyers feel like there's too much liability if they let people go there and do what we were doing.
Because I did go there when they had something a year or two ago where they had a classic car show, and they were giving tours of the fort, and there are very dangerous areas in the fort itself.
The fort has a lot of issues, and Battery Milliken is where a lot of the danger lies, because if you're walking through there, there's holes in the floor.
Yeah, because we saw them when we took the tour, and I found that most interesting. I didn't realize that we had such a gem in this city.
We really do, but the problem is every time they try and because for those of you unfamiliar that are listening around the world, Battery Milliken is this battery that's at Fort Rodman, Fort Tabor here in New Bedford, and it's basically somebody dug out inside of a hill and built a battery inside of there where they used to store munitions. And so it's been falling apart over the years, and it's turned into a place where homeless people go in and hang out, drug addicts go in and hang out, teenagers go in and drink. And so there's broken bottles. It's just a disaster. And they've been going in there and trying to clean it all up and paint it and paint over all the graffiti. And every time they do, people just break in again and do it again, because nobody has put in the money to actually secure it so that they can keep this kind of stuff from happening.
Right, and what amazed me about that I never knew was that fort was built by Robert E. Lee.
It was during the time that it was built. It was built the current fort, which is actually Fort Rodman. Fort Tabor was a wooden fort. That's where the playground is now. There's in front of that. You can see the floor. They have like the footprint of where the original wooden fort was. So Fort Rodman was built during the Civil War, assuming that we were going to have to defend our coast from the Confederate warships. Thankfully, they were out there, but there was never any active battle that happened as a result of it. But yeah, that's when it was built, was during that era. And I'll tell you what, if you're looking for a good way to a good tax shelter for some of that money, you're looking for a good charitable cause, that the Fort Rodman Tabor Military Museum could use some help.
That's one of my things, because I am honorably discharged Air Force, and I want to do a lot for the veterans, and I want to do a lot for the city itself too.
Well, I know that they would definitely appreciate that. And if you are serious about looking into the Lizzie Borden thing, I would say just call directly and talk to Leanne, and she would let you know. I think
I mentioned that to my sister, and she's going through a lot right now because she's having a lot of financial difficulties and whatnot, even though she is working, and she's having a lot of job stress and everything else. So I know it's always going to be there, and because to me, if they are asking a little over $800,000, to me that's going to be a drop in the bucket. I don't know who else would just be able to go up there and pay $800,000, because for the people in this area, that's a lot of money.
Well, I mean, they've had some pretty significant offers over the years that they've passed on. So I'm just giving you a heads up and giving you a warning that may be the case.
If what is listed, if it is listed at a little over $800,000, I'll go for it. But if they want more, I've got two very good friends. One is a licensed electrician, and the other one is a licensed plumber. And I'll have them go through all the electrical and plumbing and whatever.
Oh, that's all. It's all been redone in the last 5 years. It's all
to make sure that it's up to code, and I don't have to spend any money on it. And I will throw in a reasonable offer.
But I'm going to tell you this. It's just in my gut. I really feel like your wires are getting crossed, and that it's Maplecroft that you're actually thinking of, because I can't imagine that they bought the the other house and aren't going to hold on to the main house.
See, I think they bought the other house because they want to make just a museum out of it, right?
No, the plan is for the other house to be the same thing as the Second Street house. They're going to have a bed and breakfast. They're going to do tours. They're going to.
Oh yeah, see, I didn't realize that because like I said, the indication I got was the Second Street one was for sale, and I'll tell you, if you go on the computer for the Second Street, look at it says 245 photos because I guess different people had taken pictures that had stayed there. And I found like the rooms, the surrounding areas. I don't even know how many rooms are in it, but for 245 photos, I found it very interesting.
There's 8 bedrooms, eight guest rooms. There's the kitchen. There's the dining room. There's the front parlor. There's the small parlor. There's the basement, and there's 4 bathrooms.
Oh yeah, I was trying to guesstimate how many rooms because it doesn't say how many rooms there are. That's why I was but I looked at all the photos, and like I say, I found it to be most interesting. And I told my sister if she feels that she wants to do a bread and breakfast, and if that's what she wants to do, I'll put money toward it.
Well, let me just say this: on Saturday afternoons here on the station, we have Jose Matos.
Oh, I've got to contact his office.
Yeah, definitely talk with him.
Oh, yes, because I listen to him every week, and he's very informative. I find him to be very honest, and I am going to. In fact, I called him last week because I was looking for. I had some gambling winnings I had to find, and I found them. My last big jaunt at Foxwoods. You'd like this, Tim. I went at 5:30 in the morning. I was staying at one of the hotels, and I went to the casino at 5:30 in the morning. I sat at my regular machine. I threw $40 in. Within 15 minutes, I hit for $2,000.
Wow.
And I cashed out, and I said, see you later.
Yeah, I would too. I mean, I went to Twin River once for the Ghost Hunters were having the season 3 premiere, and Matt Costa and Matt Moniz and myself went to the premiere, and we were going to just do a little bit of gambling afterwards, and I think we won, what did I win, $60 or $80 off like my first pull, and then I gave each one of them $20, put the original $20 back into my pocket and said, let's just play on that and then go home. You know, we're not gamblers here because we just don't have the money to gamble.
Well, you see, I found a system, and what I do is I go to the casinos early in the morning because all the money is taken in at night. There aren't too many winners at night. Oh. And I used to go, because occasionally I would take the bus up, but I used to go up Sunday mornings, and I'd leave here like 6 o'clock, and I'd get there in an hour, and I always used to win. Nothing really big, but I always used to win. And when I was staying another time, like a year ago, I was staying at, I think it was either the Grand Pequot or one of those, and I went into the casino at about 5 in the morning, and within a very short time, I hit for $1,500. I took the money back to the room. I put $1,000 in the room. I came back with $500. I put $400 in the same machine, and I hit for $2,250 right after that. And when the attendant came over and I got my $2,250, she says to me, "Oh, you got $397 left. Do you want to play?" I said, "No." I cashed out. I went to breakfast. I went shopping. I came home with over $4,000.
That's what you do.
Absolutely.
Well, I thank you very much for the call, and definitely keep us up to date with what you find out.
Oh, absolutely. Like I say, I'm very interested in the paranormal, and you put on a really good paranormal show.
Thank you, sir.
And I hope to keep in contact with you.
All right, absolutely. Thank you so much. Have a great night.
You too. Bye-bye.
And it's 508-996-0500, 877-996-1420 if you're, the old-fashioned way and you need a toll-free number. But basically, everybody has cell phones now. So 508-996-0500 is the line to call in. Good evening. You're next on Spooky South Coast.
Hi, Tim.
Hello. Thank you for holding.
Yeah, I was getting very frustrated. But anyway, I thought the Publishers Clearinghouse only gave $1 million.
I mean, I think they've done some other drawings of, I've seen like the commercials for, we have the $10 million super drawing and all that kind of stuff, but I can't say that I know that much about Publishers Clearinghouse.
I was following. They kept sending it to me, and you're so close. And in fact, I wasted a lot of stamps, and then I just quit it.
I don't even know where they get the money from. I don't even know what it is that they do, or
they sell magazines. But I'll be honest with you, when they send you the things, right, they want you to buy magazines. They send you things that show you different things. So eventually you're going to weaken and you're going to buy something. See, that's the whole gig behind it. And, I just got sick of it. I just opt out of it. But they kept saying you're very close and, all that.
Look at how the magazine business is these days. How can they afford to give anybody even $1 million, let alone $100 million? Magazines have gone from, you used to go out and buy a Rolling Stone that was, 80, 90 pages long. Now you get it, it's 25 pages long. There's just, magazines have either gone by the wayside or they've gone digital or they've had to cut themselves down in half. I used to get ESPN, the magazine, and I stopped getting it because it was coming to my house half the size as it was when I subscribed.
Yeah, there's a lot of, some of them, I like Vanity Fair because they don't have a lot of, they have good, it's not fake news, and they have good articles that you can read, and they don't have a lot of that advertisement. Some of the books for the girls even, it's just all advertisement. There's nothing to read anymore.
Right. Well, I mean, ultimately, that's the purpose of a magazine is to have a good mix of advertising and articles. But when you're just putting a bunch of ads in there to try and hit a certain page count, you're going to alienate the audience. So we used to get all kinds of paranormal magazines. There's a great magazine store, just a couple miles from the station where you can get magazines about just about anything.
Oh, I know. I like that place.
And we used to go there and get all the paranormal magazines. We'd get Fate. We'd get UFO. We'd get anything else that was on the shelves that was paranormal. I'd go there and drop $20, $25. And then it just became not worth it anymore because the magazines were getting so cut down in what they were putting out there.
Tim, you know what I wanted to ask you? I'm not really per se into paranormal, but I picked up this magazine, a book the other day on a lot of meditation and Reiki and all that kind of stuff that makes you feel better. And how about intuition? I've had a few incidents where I had intuition, and it blew my mind. Like, it's little things, but one was big. It was money. It had to do with money. And I knew, talking about gambling, I knew this machine was going to hit. And I just had a funny hunch, but I had also been watching, observing, you know what I mean? And it did end up hitting.
Well, I think intuition's a real thing. I mean,
it was big. It wasn't 25. It wasn't 2,500 or anything like that. But I don't want to say how much on the air. But another thing is, I wanted to ask you about. Another time, I was saying to my friend, I says, I never see frogs anymore ever around. And this day I kept talking about frogs and stuff. Do you know when I got home, I almost died. Right in front of my gate, at my feet was a frog. Before I opened the gate with the lock. It actually blew my mind. And now I get kind of things like that. I don't know what you call it. I call them things from God. I don't know. That's what I call it.
Well, I mean, some people would say, well, that's, coincidence. And then other people will tell you, well, it's not really coincidence. It's a sign. It's that you're putting out some sort of an intention into the universe, and the universe is listening and giving you an answer back. So you're thinking, gee, I haven't seen frogs. I wonder what happened to the frogs. And the universe says, I'm going to put a frog in your path to let you know that the frogs are still around and that no matter what Alex Jones says, they're not turning gay.
Does that happen to you too?
Yeah, no, but there is some sense of when you pay attention to things more, then you will draw them forth a little bit. So let me give you an example. If you go out and buy a car, and let's just say you go out and you're going to buy a blue Ford Focus, and you say to yourself, gee, I don't see a lot of blue Ford Focuses around. I like this car because it's unique, and I don't see a lot of these around, so I'm going to buy this car. You buy a blue Ford Focus, you start driving around, all of a sudden you notice everybody's driving around in a blue Ford Focus. Where'd all these blue Ford Focuses come from? And it's only because you've now kind of paid attention to that it's put it into the forefront of your mind, and now you're picking up on it when you see it elsewhere when it might not have entered your mind before. So with the frogs, you were thinking to yourself, gee, I haven't really seen a frog lately. So your subconscious was kind of looking and focusing in for frogs, just as, just using that as an example. But that's what some people feel that it is. It's that they call it like blue car syndrome.
Another time, the fella near me cut down a beautiful oriental tree that shoots out beautiful flowers. And I said, boy, that guy's stupid for doing something like that to a beautiful tree, right? I wish I had that tree over here. And don't you know, I had the tree. The tree came, but you know what? It was no good because it was too close to the gate, and it was going to ruin the gate. So eventually, and it was growing beautiful, I had to take it out. It was in the wrong place. But God, I say again, God gave me that tree. But I think it's seed. Birds drop seeds. And then it comes like, but that's all I get. I don't know what paranormal is.
Well, I mean, the paranormal is anything that is unexplainable, anything that is outside of what we accept to be normal. So the paranormal doesn't mean that it has to be something that's scary, or it doesn't have to be something that's overt. It doesn't have to be a spaceship landing in your front yard or a ghost shaking your bed. It can just be anything that kind of falls outside the normal, accepted confines of known science. So to me, it's really just things that we don't understand why they happen yet, and then eventually we will understand it, and then what's paranormal starts to be considered normal.
All right.
Look at it like this.
I get a lot of things back that aren't supposed to come back either.
Look at it like this. Native Americans had no idea what an eclipse was. When they didn't know that they were coming, they had no idea what they were. So when they saw an eclipse, they saw it as a sign of something. And so they would see, I mean, even if you go back to the Incans and the Mayans, they would see an eclipse. They'd think they'd have to go climb the top of one of the pyramids and sacrifice somebody because the gods were getting angry. But in actuality, we know it's just a regular part of everyday, well, not every day, but it's just a regular part of what happens in the cosmos. So now we have an understanding for something that has become normal, when back then it would have been considered something that was paranormal.
All right, let me ask you a question. Do you believe in somebody like Sylvia Brown?
I believe in somebody like Sylvia Brown. I don't believe in Sylvia Brown.
But it's, in other words, psychic is considered paranormal, right? Kind of?
Yes, and my normal co-host Stephanie, who's not here tonight, is a psychic medium. So she's opened my eyes to, I was very skeptical of people that have those abilities for a long time. And just in knowing her and seeing her work over the years, she's opened my mind to the possibility that not only is this real, but it's something that we could all do if we all knew how to focus in on it like she knows how to.
Oh, wow. So what, she does that for a living?
She does, yeah. She has a place. She has her own shop in Mattapoisett where she does readings and she teaches Reiki, and she has all kinds of different intuition classes that she teaches. But she also does do readings for people as well. And I've never had her give me a reading because she's my friend and I don't want that. Just like I wouldn't ask my friend, if my friend was a carpenter, hey, can you come and build me a deck? It's the same thing. You're my friend. I'm not friends with you to get free things out of you. So I've never had her give me a reading. But what I have had happen is I have had to, text her for something or send her a Facebook message for something, and she will send me the answer to the question before I've sent her the question.
Oh.
So I'm thinking to myself, I better text Stephanie and ask her this, and she'll just send me a message that says, yeah, okay, I will.
So your lines crossed.
She can read my mind, she tells me.
Yeah. One other thing before I hang up. When you talk about the Fort Tabor, when you say the Milliken, is that big brick building that's empty and there's nothing in it?
Well, they're all empty. So you're talking about the one. Milliken is inside of the hill in the back. Now
that one, I think I know which one you mean. I saw a pheasant come out of there once.
That's quite possible.
But I never went near it, but I've walked by it. That's the only one I see that's round. The other one, they made like steps into it.
Right.
That building, that's not really a building anymore. Did you notice that?
Yeah, there's a couple. So when you pull into the parking lot of Fort Tabor, into the park of the parking lot for the park, you'll see the community building on your right, and then the military museum on your left, and then the parking lot, and then there's the big fort with the lighthouse on it. That's Fort Rodman. And then in front of that, there's a couple little batteries. Battery Walcott, I think, and I forget the name of the other one. But those are very small little batteries. And then as you walk along the path and you go by the water treatment plant and you're heading back toward, if you were heading back toward West Rodney French Boulevard and back toward the SMAS building.
Yeah, that one I know is a big one, right?
Yeah, there's that big one that's inside the hill. So there's like all the trees up on top of it, and there's supposed to be a fence in front of it, but people keep cutting down the fence.
I hate to ask you this. I don't know if I should ask you on the air, but when they found a person hanging there one day, I was trying to figure out where the person could be hanging.
He was hanging from a tree on top of the battery, on top of Milliken.
The battery there, where there were trees, because there's trees there. So when I went around there, I said it had to be over there because I used to walk on the beach side too.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And I says, where the hell could this have taken place? I was trying to figure it out.
No, it was on top of Milliken in one of the trees up there, because there is a path up there. You can actually walk up on top of the battery, and there's a walking path that goes all around the whole top of that hill. And so there's trees up there, and the person hung themselves from one of those trees. Actually, the last time I was there, because we used to be able to do ghost events there, we can't anymore. But the last time we were there, and I was walking through with Stephanie through Battery Milliken, with permission. This is the part of the show where I have to say, don't go there. It's trespassing. The city will sue you. You will go to jail. Don't go in there. It's just don't. But we had permission. So while we were in there, she becomes so overwhelmed because there have been a lot of deaths associated there. There have been people who have gone in and overdosed. There have been homeless people that have frozen to death. They do pull bodies out of there from time to time. So she's gone in there and been pretty much overwhelmed by the amount of different spirit energy that's in there, all kind of rushing at her at once. Is there bats in there? I've never seen a bat in there. I wouldn't be surprised if there was. But, I've been in there and I've yelled down the hallway, and I've never actually had anything come out flying at me. So, but it would make sense that there is bats and other animals living in there, because for the most part, it's open enough for them to get into it. And there's tunnels underneath too. So it could be that if there are bats, they could have gone underneath into the tunnels, and that could be where they're staying. So what's in that big building though? It's made of brick, and it's, quite dilapidated, and you can see in it if you look, but with the windows, and you're talking right on the water.
That's big. It's closest to the water. What's in there?
That's Fort Rodman. So there's nothing inside of there. They do open it up a couple times a year for some of their events. I think they're going to be opening it up this weekend.
Is there rats in there?
No, there's the top of it's totally wide open.
There's like a lighthouse on it, right?
Right. I've been up inside the lighthouse. I've been all around the inside of that building. So if you walked in, when they have the wooden doors open, if you walked in, it's there's basically like a lawn on the inside, and there's all the casements going around the battery. So they're basically like little chamber rooms, open rooms going all around it. And then there's another floor where they have the same thing. So when you walk in and you stand in the middle of it, you can see inside all of those casements from the middle of it. And they do open it. I think it'll probably be open this weekend if anybody wants to go and check it out. But when you go in there, you can see where they would station people if they had to defend the fort. And then eventually their plan is to clean up the third floor, the third level, and get rid of all the brush and everything that's up there, and be able to redo that to make it safe for people to go up there. And eventually someday, if they get all the money that they need, people would be able to tour that entire fort and go into all the different levels and go into the lighthouse. But as of right now, it's so unsafe that when you walk in, you can only go in, and the city will only allow you to stay on the grass, which is why we had to stop doing events there. Because even if we just got that one building, we still thought maybe we could do something. But when they said you're not even allowed to step off the grass, we said, well, forget it. We can't charge people for a ticket for that, because there's no value in it for them. They're not getting anything different than they would if they just went there during the day. Yeah, if they do that, that'll be nice, though, huh? Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, though, is somebody's got to – they're never going to raise the funds for it. And when they do get, community preservation money, the fort doesn't make the list of things that they would want to do anything with. And that's the biggest problem, is it's almost like it's nice to have it there, but they look at it like it's in the way. They had a nice gift shop with the paranormal. But you know what? But that would be good for the tourists. If you go there, have you ever been to the military museum? No, I didn't go inside there. I only used the ladies' room once. Oh, I highly recommend going in there and just spending an afternoon walking around and looking at all the great displays. It's all stuff that has been donated to them to honor a lot of local veterans and going all the way back to the Revolutionary War. And they have stuff from all of that going around there. And it's free. They just ask, if you can throw a couple of bucks in the jar at the end of the tour, at the end of your time in there, they appreciate it. But it's free to go in. And you really do learn a lot and have an appreciation for the members of the military, not only in general, but especially the ones that have been from this area. So it's a great thing to do for Memorial Day if you're looking to get out and have some sort of a remembrance for fallen soldiers. I would recommend going to the Military Museum.
Okay, Tim. I'll be listening to you tonight.
All right. Thank you so much for calling.
Thank you, Tim.
And 508-996-0500, 877-996-1420. I do, just talking about Fort Tabor, Fort Rodman just makes me miss when we had access to those buildings and being able to get in there. And there's really nothing that we can do about it. I know that people keep asking, are we ever going to get to go back in there? Can we ever go and have another night of investigation? And I can tell you it's not going to happen. I've gone before the Parks Department and I've asked for permission. They've told me outright no. They actually told me that we never should have been allowed to do it in the first place, even though we've done what, like 4 or 5 events there, I think, Matt. And they told us, yeah, we didn't know that you were doing any of those, or else we would have told you no then. So that's where we stand with those. And it's a shame because it is a lot of history for this area that needs to be appreciated. People don't understand the fact that during this, they think that, being up here in Massachusetts during the Civil War, there wasn't any danger being up here, that all the battles were fought further down south. But that's not the case. During the Civil War, there was a very real fear that this area could be attacked. And that area out there where the fort is, what's that, Clark's Point? That area was farmland for a long time. Going all the way back to the Revolutionary War, it became an area that was easily attacked. So going all the way back to that point, they had some sort of a structure there, which is why they had Fort Tabor there originally, the wooden fort. And then Fort Rodman was built during the era of the Civil War, was actually completed afterwards, I believe. But that was an area where they were very concerned because you could stand there and look out off the shores and see part of the Confederate fleet just waiting for the order to attack. But people don't realize that because it's just not part of what's taught in local history classes. So you need to be able to go to a place like that to learn it and to appreciate it. And they do so many great things there. They have reenactments there. They have encampments there from all different eras. So they'll have Revolutionary War encampments. They'll have Civil War encampments, World War I, World War II. And you can go there and it's like it's living history. You can go there and actually watch battles and talk to soldiers, and they're role playing, they're pretending, they're acting, but you get that living piece of history. And it's something that is a very special, very unique thing to be able to offer in this area. And I just wish there was more of a concerted effort on the part of the city to keep funding those type of activities. And I know that money is tight. What they really need is a nice benefactor. Maybe somebody's getting $100 million from Publishers Clearinghouse. They need somebody like that to come in and say, let me help you. Let me help you get this to the way that you want to have it look. Because right now they won't let anybody in because of the dilapidated shape that it's in. But if they could secure Battery Milliken, if they could make structural improvements to Fort Rodman, then we could open it up and it could actually be something that would be a tourist destination, because you can go there and spend the day and go to the playground. You can get ice cream. There's an ice cream shop there. There's the military museum. There's the beach. So this is a place where you can go and spend the whole day, and you can go and have all different kinds of fun. Bring your rollerblades, your bike, whatever. There's the walking path that goes all the way around. It's a beautiful location, a great place to spend a nice day. But it's a shame to go there and only have to look at these structures and to not to be able to get inside of them and to understand and to appreciate the history involved. Next Saturday night, we have an event at Fort Adams with Bright Star Promotions. Has an event at Fort Adams that Stephanie and myself will be at. And that's a great example of how you can get into a fort that has been rehabbed and has been taken care of over the years, and now lets people in for tours, and they have weddings and all different kinds of things that go on. And there's still some tickets available if you go to Bright Star Promotions online and get your tickets. But that just shows you what Fort Tabor could be if somebody could just come in and give them what they need to make that happen. 508-996-0500. Good evening. You're next on Spooky South Coast.
Hello.
Hi, you're on the air.
Hey, Tim, it's Kirsten. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. I'm with Ross. We're driving home from my friend's house.
Oh, hello. Hello to both of you.
Hi. We heard you talking about Fort Tabor, and my dad is part of a former tankers group. It's called the USABO, the United States Army Brotherhood of Tankers. And they restored that tank that's there at Fort Tabor.
Oh, they have the Tiger tank there?
Yeah, the Tiger tank, the Operation Tiger there. So have you ever, I heard you talking about like the military museum there. Have you ever done any sort of events around that tank there or anything?
Oh, yeah. When we have done our events there, we've had, you know, how we break everything down into zones. So we try to have different zones for people to rotate through so you don't have, 50, 60 people in one spot at one time. And so the military museum is one of the zones. And when the people are in the military museum, they will go out and they'll, investigate around that tank. And they always get, weird EMF fluctuations around it. They'll have all kinds of EVPs that people have caught around it. So there's definitely some sort of an energy attached to that tank.
Yeah.
And I've written about it in my book. I wrote about the people will see the spirit of a mechanic working on that tank.
Oh, that's interesting.
So, but there's all kinds of things that are seen down there in all different areas of the park. So it's not surprising to me that the tank would have energy too.
Yeah. I think it's a really interesting little part of that whole park there.
And that's another thing too. Like people will just walk by that tank on their way to the beach or drive by it on their way to the beach and not even know what the story is behind it or understand about, Exercise Tiger. Like they don't know any of that history if they don't have a reason to get out of the car and go into the museum or go into the fort and learn these things.
Right. I never would have any idea of that except that my dad had restored that tank with his group.
And that's just a shame. How's things going over at the plantation?
Oh, it's great. There are some, I have had some paranormal experiences there. My grandmother has visited me at the plantation a few times.
Wow. So,
Yeah.
I mean, and people say, well, Plymouth Plantation, that's a place that was built, not that long ago. That is, just as a teaching tool. It's not actually, the real houses that Pilgrims lived in, but that's a real land that the Pilgrims lived on.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. I mean, their fields that they planted in would have extended to that area easily. It's just, there's so much history in that area. I love it.
So I do have communications in with the folks over there to get an event going.
Excellent.
So hopefully basically we're just waiting back to find out what the cost will be per person and to see if we can work out all the financials. But even if I don't get in there for an event, I'm definitely going this year for the traditional Thanksgiving dinner.
Okay. Yes.
Have you had a chance to enjoy that yourself yet?
I do some of the harvest dinners that they have on the weekends there. I work the Thanksgiving Day, but I haven't done the Thanksgiving dinners there.
See, I want that one where they cook it like the Pilgrims would have.
Yeah, so the harvest dinners.
I hear it's phenomenal.
Oh, it's awesome. Yeah.
I mean, it's what, $65, $70 a person. So
yeah, it's not that terribly expensive.
You hope that it's good for that price.
Right, and then you get, there's a few of us Pilgrims that join you, and we chat with all of you, and we sing songs and give you like the old Pilgrim experience.
Well, you know that if I go there, I'm going to try and make you break. I'm going to make you break character.
All right.
Well, the challenge is on.
It is on.
All right. Well, and tell Ross that we say hello, and
I will.
We'll see you guys soon.
Definitely. Thank you.
All right. Have a great night.
You too.
508-996-0500 is the number to call in. We have a whole other hour coming up on Spooky South Coast. We can take some more of your calls as well. See, I like this. I like where you never know where you're going. See, there's a lot of shows out there, paranormal shows, that will take phone calls, and they'll have people that are screening the calls to find out who it is, or even if they're just using Skype or some sort of a program, they'll see where it is that you're calling from. And I don't like that. I don't like when people say, oh, we've got somebody calling in from the 617 area code right now. Who could that be? Like, I don't like that. I like pressing the button, having no idea who's on the other end. Very Art Bell of me, I know. But I like the fact that you never know where that call is going to go. And when I used to do the Saturday morning show here, that was my favorite part, was every time I pressed that button, I had no idea who was on the other end, and I had no idea where the conversation was going to go. And that keeps me kind of on the edge of my seat. And I hope that it does the same for the listeners as well. So I don't have any way to know who it is if you're calling in. And I normally we don't tell you that, because during the week they'll have call screeners in here for the talk shows, because they don't want the knuckleheads calling in. They want to make sure that people only call once per show like they're supposed to. We kind of bend that rule a little bit here. So there's an understanding with that you can't during the day just let people come on and say whatever they want. But I'm fully armed. I have a dump button, unlike other paranormal shows. I have a dump button right here. And I do have the technology that if somebody calls, I know who it is that called. I can go back and look in the log. There's a log. It's right there in front of me. I just don't look at it. So I want to know who it is that calls in and, tries to prank us or whatever. I can just read their phone number out on the air and give it out to all the listeners. But I don't want to know who it is before I press the button. That's what makes it so much fun. And probably will get us in some trouble before the end of the night. Again, 508-996-0500 is the number. Coming back in the next hour, we're going to talk about a couple of stories that have been going around. One of which is this creature that was killed in Montana. I woke up this morning to a number of people tagging me on Facebook about it, and people tweeting the story to us. It's not the first time that we've had a creature like this. That I'll wait and I'll tell you more about it in the next hour, but it's something that I think is a little troubling with how many of these have been found and been found dead, or have had to have been killed because they were vicious or what have you. So there's something going on with this type of animal. So we'll get more into that. And then also, Matt found this great blog that was written on the Huffington Post that we're going to address some of the questions that are in this. And it comes up, I was a guest last night on Spaced Out Radio, and you can check that out at spacedoutradio.com. Dave Scott does a great show, and he has a paranormal roundtable on Friday nights, I think once a month, where he brings in a bunch of different people to talk about a bunch of different topics. And one of the things that we talked about is, why there aren't older ghosts and why there aren't animal ghosts everywhere and all these things. And so some of these questions that came up in this list too. So we'll go over them and we'll talk about them a little bit too, coming up in the next hour. Like I said, next week we won't have a show. We have the Fort Adams event happening with Bright Star Promotions. We also have a couple of Spooky South Coast events coming up, and you can find out about those at SpookySouthCoast.com if you want to come along and join us. We have one coming up June 15th. 14th, 15th, whatever the Friday night is. That's coming up at the Smith Harris House in Niantic, Connecticut. Great old historic haunted home. Did an event there a few years ago with Legend Trips. The place just came alive. So we're going to be going back there with a very small, intimate group. Coming up in July, we have a couple of events. We have Weird Winchendon, where we get to investigate 2 different haunted mansions that are right across the street from each other. Both of them have 2 of the weirdest basements that I've ever been in my life. Shadow people, doppelgangers, a photo of a guy who looks like the shovel killer from Home Alone. That's a true story. It's in the basement of the Murdoch Whitney house. So we'll have that event coming up. We also have, too, that annual event that we do every year, that's close to our hearts, Ghost of the Gateway, in our hometown of Wareham, where you can investigate a tavern that was built in 1690. Who gets that kind of an opportunity to go into a place built in the 1600s that has seen every single day of this country's history before we were even a country? And you can go and check that place out, as well as 3 other haunted historic buildings, all on the same night. And it's a huge fundraiser every year for the Wareham Historical Society. And then, of course, we have the Exoneration coming up in October in North Andover at the Parson Barnard House, where we're going to try to clear the name of the Reverend Thomas Barnard, who is accused of being one of the nefarious people behind the Salem witch trials, when in all reality, it seems like he was actually trying to help end the Salem witch trials. So on the 300th anniversary of his death, to the day, we will be in his home and at his graveside, hoping to reach out to him and hoping to clear his good name. Plus, there's that bastard that lives in the attic of the house, the spirit of Simeon, which we'll get more into as we get closer to that event. And recently announced, October 20th, we're going back, doing it again, an eerie night at Edaville. We'll be going back to Edaville Family Theme Park in Carver, Massachusetts. We will take the train ride. We will investigate the museum building. We will investigate the Midway with all the rides that have come from other amusement parks. We will investigate the woods, where Native Americans have long reported strange experiences. And we'll also get into the suicide house, the house where 3 different people have committed suicide over the years. That will be torn down. It's going to be torn down eventually, as they're adding more things in there. And each year, we get told this could be the last year you can investigate the suicide house. So we don't want to mess around. We want to get in there and make sure that we can do it one more time. So that'll be happening October 20th. It's all up at SpookySouthCoast.com. If you want to join us for any or all of those events, you can get your tickets right there. I highly recommend jumping on those, because they will sell out, especially the smaller events like the Smith Harris House, because they are very limited. I think we only have 25 tickets available for that event, and they're probably about half gone. So you want to make sure that you don't mess around and that you jump on those while you can. All right, we're going to take a break for the news, because for those of you listening online or watching us on Spooky TV, we have to run the network news here on the radio. That gives us a chance to take a break. I can stop coughing and get a drink. And then we'll be back with more paranormal talk. Welcome back. Hour number 2 of Spooky South Coast. Tim Weisberg here, along with the silent assassin Matt Costa. Talking the paranormal. That's what we do here on Saturday nights, live here on WBSM, as well as on Spooky TV at SpookySouthCoast.com. If you are listening to the show, wherever you are, then you can also watch the show wherever you are, live on Saturday nights on our YouTube channel and at SpookySouthCoast.com. We have the chat room bumping there. I want to say hi to everybody that's in the chat room. We've got people in there having a blast, and you can join them every Saturday night while the show is live. But I know a lot of you catch us later on, whether it be on our YouTube videos or on our podcast, which can be found anywhere podcasts are found. You can find Spooky South Coast. Over 530 episodes over the past 12 and a half years are all waiting there for you to download free of charge. No subscription, no per download fee. It's all right there. It's all free. We foot that bill for you. And believe me, we foot the bill, because it's all on us. Most of what you see here, a lot of it is all on us. So we've done that for you, the listener, to enjoy. So check it out. But, we do like to tell you about some products now and then that we get excited for. And one of those products I'll tell you about in just a moment. But I do want to say, too, that we've been very honored over the last few years to have been on the Dark Matter Digital Network. And we want to say hi to everybody that listens to us via that way. I know that Keith's done a great job of putting our show up every week, even the weeks that we take off, because we have different events or different things that are going on. He always makes sure that he gets a show up there for the listeners on Dark Matter. So thank you, Keith, for doing that. And thank you to everybody that listens to the show that way. And we really appreciate the fact that people want to listen to us. So we'll never lose sight of the fact that we are doing this show for you, the audience. We're not here to talk about ourselves. We're not here to, in the wrestling parlance, put ourselves over. You know, we're here to put on what's hopefully a couple of hours of entertainment that might make you think, that might make you laugh, but at the very least won't make you sorry that you tuned in. So thank you to everybody who does that each and every week, and thank you for coming back week after week and year after year, and eventually, someday, when we no longer have this show going anymore, hopefully you'll still let me just like go on Facebook Live or whatever and talk to you about ghosts, because I'm never going to stop. So hopefully you'll never stop listening. Have I freaked people out enough? All right, good. We want to let you know about one of our friends at Parabox Monthly. And if you are not familiar with Parabox Monthly, definitely go and check out their site, paraboxmonthly.com. They have silkscreen, soft style t-shirts that are super comfortable, and they actually have these designs on them that are puzzles. So it's not just clothing that you can wear, it's clothing that you can explore. There's codes, there's ciphers, there's riddles, numbers, images, or other hidden gems. So you can actually have fun exploring the design and putting the pieces together to figure out where to go next. And you can get these shirts in different themes. They have ghosts and haunted locations, UFO encounters and aliens, folklore and legends, cryptozoology, urban legends. And you can get them on a month-to-month plan, a 3-month plan, or a 6-month plan. No contract. You're free to cancel at any time. So you might as well give it a try. You've got nothing to lose. And if you go to paraboxmonthly.com and use the promo code SPOOKYLIVE, you'll get 10% off. So check it out. Order the shirts. Get your discount by using the promo code SPOOKYLIVE at paraboxmonthly.com. And then let us know what you thought of the shirts. Let us know how comfortable they are. Let us know if you solved the riddle, if you solved the puzzle, if you figured it out. Don't tell us the answer, though. We don't want to cheat, but just let us know if you had fun exploring the mysteries behind Parabox. All right, well, we are doing Paranormal Open Lines tonight, 508-996-0500. If you want to call in through the toll-free method, 877-996-1420. You can also post questions in the chat room at our YouTube channel and on SpookySouthCoast.com. I'm trying to get over there and taking a look at it as much as I can during the show. Usually we have Stephanie here or Moniz here kind of handling the chat room and letting us know if any questions pop up. But tonight they are both out. Stephanie is down at an event in Tennessee, and Moniz is out taking a personal day. So it's just Matt Costa and I manning the ship, and he's over there running all the fancy video stuff. So he'll let me know if he sees something pop up in the chat. But for the most part, you know, he's busy. He's busy trying as hard as he can to make me look good. You know, I've been growing my hair out, Matt, and it looks terrible when I have the headphones on. It really does. I look like I have like some like 1940s. Let me turn your microphone on. See, I'm a terrible producer too. Looks like I have like some 1940s like babyface Nelson haircut.
It's very dapper.
That's a word. I think it's a mess. But normally I buzz my head in the summer anyway, and I was getting so close to that time. I said, I'm going to save the $15 I spent on a haircut and just not cut my hair until I buzz it. So who knows? Who knows where it'll go? Maybe I'll end up looking like Moniz before I cut it. I'm just kidding. I wouldn't do that to myself. Don't tell them I said that. 508-996-0500 is the number to call in. I do want to talk a little bit about this story, though, because as I mentioned, everybody's been kind of mentioning it to me and mentioning it to me on putting me in mentions on Facebook and on Twitter. This mysterious wolf-like creature that was shot dead by a rancher in rural Montana, and this story is coming from the New York Post. Even wildlife officials have no clue what the thing is, according to authorities. The beast had oddly long gray fur, oversized claws, and an extra-large head. So is this why Moniz couldn't come in tonight?
Yep.
It kind of looks like him. Do you need me to hold the photo up, or you gotta? You're going the fancy technology? Okay. So the beast had oddly long gray fur, oversized claws, and an extra large head, but its ears are too big and its legs are too short to be a common wolf or a dog, according to Montana Fish, Wildlife, and Park officials. We have no idea what this is until we get a DNA report back, Bruce Ockley of the Montana Fish, Wildlife, and Parks told the Great Falls Tribune. The strange discovery was made May 16th by a man who shot the canine because he tried to chow down on his livestock in the tiny town of Denton. The rancher called authorities to report he had killed a wolf, but authorities soon learned it was something stranger. The critter's canine teeth and front paws were too short to be a wolf. Its big floppy ears and shaggy fur were nothing like a common canine. So, of course, that leads to all kinds of speculation on the internet. People have to try and guess what they think that it is. Some people are saying that it could be a dire wolf, an extinct saber-toothed canine that once roamed North America. It could be a real-life werewolf. I've even heard some people mention that it could be a Shunka Werican, a wolf hybrid from the Native American lore that I'm probably pronouncing wrong. Some are saying that it's the Dogman, you know. Some are saying it's a Chupacabra. I don't know. I think probably what happened is, in my opinion, I think one night, you know, there was a male wolf and a female dog. They went out for some drinks together. You know, they met up on whatever the wolf version of Tinder is. What would the wolf version of Tinder be? Like Howler?
Yeah, they have a Howler.
Oh, no. I don't know what it'd be. Timber. Like Timberwolf. So they met up on Timber. They went out for some drinks. You know, they kind of hit it off a little bit. They did what, you know, adult wolves and dogs will do sometimes when they go out on a date. And then that bastard wolf never called her the next day. And however long the gestation period is for wolves and dogs, I have no idea. But that amount of time later, this creature was born. And that's what it sounds like to me. It sounds like it's literally a canine-wolf hybrid. So we'll find out because they're going to do the DNA testing. And if Moniz was here, I'm sure he would be able to offer some insight because I know he's run into some other similar cases over the years before. These stories pop up every couple of years, though, and it always turns out to go nowhere. We never hear about the follow-up. They kill the creature, or the creature's found dead, or something washes up on a beach or something, and we hear the story about, oh my God, can you believe what they found? Everybody speculates for a week about what it might be. They say, we're going to do some DNA testing to figure it out for sure, and then we never hear the follow-up, which usually leads me to believe that it was probably something that was far more easily explained than some of the theories that are put out there. So if it is a werewolf or a dogman or a chupacabra or any of those kind of things, I'm sure we'll get a follow-up story. But if we don't get a follow-up story, I'm just going to assume it was a dog-wolf hybrid. Usually this is the time where, you know, people tweet the story to Lauren Coleman, and Lauren Coleman writes back, it's a dog-wolf hybrid. Which is, you know, kind of cool, but it's certainly not strange. We have friends who claim to have dogs that are part wolf. I always question that, though. I'm like, how do you know that it is?
I think all dogs are part wolf, so I guess you can say anything.
But like, you know, like, well, oh yeah, no, my dog, his father was a wolf. Like, who told you that?
Right.
Like, where'd you get that dog? Because I don't know about you, I'd be worried about having a dog that was part wolf. I don't think I'd want that in my house.
It's like your dog's part Elizabeth Warren, just claiming that it's something that it's not.
Well, you know, the dog is going to get
there's no proof. I don't know.
The dog has to get a scholarship somehow.
Right.
So if it has to claim to be Native American to get it, it's not really the fault of the wolf for lying. It's the fault of the system for letting him be able to lie. Anyway, 508-996-0500, 877-996-1420. Good evening. You're next on Spooky South Coast.
And finally, a call-in show.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. Well, I mean, people can call in anytime. We always take calls.
I know, but then it tends to be more geared to whatever the guest is. So.
Right, yeah.
Like
this is just
flowing.
This is a free-for-all. We can talk about whatever's on your mind, as long as it can go over terrestrial radio.
Yes, this is true. All right. Now, how about extraterrestrial radio?
Oh, maybe they're listening.
All right.
Calling all occupants of interplanetary craft.
All right. I am surprised that no podcasts or anyone in the field has been talking about this, because there's a good analogy now with the witch hunt for Trump and the secret documents and the UFO documents. No one's talking about this. You know, from history of following the subject, you get files released. There's like 2 sentences you can read out of them.
Right. Everything else is redacted, yeah.
Yeah, everything's redacted. Then, after additional years go by and Stanton Friedman tried to get them re-released, you know, after a certain amount of time, more can be declassified. Now, oops, we lost them. We don't know what happened to them. They disappeared. It's the same bull that's going on with the FBI, because you know, it's obvious what's going on with the witch hunt. It's basically they got caught with their hands in a cookie jar. The fix was in for Hillary. They were getting busted. So now these documents you couldn't see, and at first, remember, like the text messages, we couldn't find them. Oh, yeah, okay, now we found them when they were going to subpoena the members. It closely parallels them. So that means there's something big they're hiding.
Well, listen, I don't want to sound like the disinformation guy here, like somebody that's part of this shadow government or the deep state or anything like that. But it is possible that maybe we haven't seen a lot of these documents because maybe they aren't there. Maybe they've overplayed their hand over the years with claiming to have all of this stuff. And in actuality, you know, maybe something like Project Blue Book, as much as we've seen from it, you know, maybe anything beyond that was kind of just, we kept this going to just keep collecting government money to funnel into other things. And we kind of overplayed how much we actually have. And we've overplayed how much we're actually paying attention to this. Because if there was ever going to be anywhere where you could kind of scam a little extra funding out of the government, it would be something like that, where you're never actually going to be required to prove anything to get the checks to keep coming in.
Yeah, but they didn't use that tack because they wanted it to go away. If they were doing it like this last project, they did it behind the scenes. They've wanted it to go away for decades. In the 50s, in the 40s, when that memo came out saying that they were interplanetary craft, the General Twining, he refused to accept that. He made them rewrite it. So that was their intelligence officers back then that said that. So if these documents, it wasn't like they're just releasing them now and just, oh, okay, this is what we had and we needed more money to study it. They were burying this stuff. You had to dig up, you had to find things and trick them into getting documents and documents released by accident. It's obvious they're hiding something.
Well, but I mean, just being devil's advocate, is it possible that they were hiding it because it was our craft? It was our secret program that they were building that they didn't want to have to explain to the public for reasons of national defense. Is it possible that it wasn't anything from space, but it was something that they didn't want the enemy to know about?
Well, I find that one highly illogical as well. I would grant it that in the 40s and 50s, I would grant you that hypothesis because you were building that. It's impossible that craft that was operating not astronomically, making right-hand turns, disappearing, going from start and stop in seconds right across the sky. It's impossible that we had those crafts in the 50s, and now it's 2018, and we've never seen one marketed.
Right.
Remember the stealth bomber was the top secret, and the stealth fighter in the 90s. But 20 years later, you've seen them. They're obsolete now. You're telling me that we had this technology in 1950, and no one's seen it since?
Right. There'd be a huge market for that, for whoever was developing it to, it's somewhere down the line, somebody would have leaked those plans to Boeing. So
that is completely ridiculous. Now, you could say now something that you've seen in the late 90s or 2000, then I agree. It could be something that we're developed that we don't know about now, but it's impossible to those craft in the 50s, which they were seeing all the time, and they were getting chased by our aircraft too. Impossible that we've had that all these years, like 70 years, and no one's seen any craft. We've never come out with a official craft with the U.S. Air Force star with the red, white, and blue on them. Impossible.
I mean, I will say this, though, and I've had the same argument with Steve Bassett over the years. So say that there are all these documents that will verify that we've been getting visited, or verify that there have been sightings and interactions with interplanetary craft. Say that this is all documented, and they just haven't released the files, and then they do. What's the so what that comes out of that? I mean, obviously, there's the human factor of, now we will know that we're not alone, and that should kind of change our worldview and change our galaxy view, really, and change our mindset as human beings. But in actuality, like, I'm not going to hold animosity toward the government from keeping that from me for all these years.
Well, I do and I don't, because sometimes I think about it and I say, well, I want this out there and I want to know. But the thing is, what happens if it's really bad? It's really, really bad. You know what I mean? Then I could see that they wouldn't release it. But then I'm thinking, well, if it's really bad, how come nothing's happened since the 40s, 50s? If it's really bad, something would have really bad happened by now. So I think it's just because they don't want to admit, and they don't want to go to the public and saying, we have no idea what it is, what they're doing. I mean,
excuse me, the forgotten part of this, or the part that's overlooked with a lot of this, is we're talking post-atom bomb that a lot of this stuff happened. So maybe the reason why that it's been kept under wraps is because the atom bomb is, and we can say, all right, let's go ancient aliens theory and say, we've been visited for a long time, and they've played a part in human evolution, even if you want to start saying some of that too. But the atomic age, I think, might have signaled off to these other beings, you got to keep an eye on these human beings a little bit closer. And so maybe that's why we don't know this stuff. Maybe because we're being watched and we're being scolded by another species, another planet that's telling us, hey, what you're doing is a huge mistake. And they don't want us to know that because they want to keep having that kind of power over each other here.
Yeah, that one, I don't know. I do agree, because I've heard a lot of information as far as, since the atomic testing, it's almost like the activity went from almost nothing to really, really intense after the bomb. So, and I don't know the science behind it, but I know it does release some type of particles that can be detected. So it is possible.
Yeah, they don't.
That was like turning on a porch light, and here comes the moths.
So basically, look at it like this. So, we know we develop these weapons, and we use them to lord over other nations that don't have them, and even to lord over nations that do have the same technology. And we're seeing that right now with North Korea, where we want you to denuclearize. We want Iran to not have nuclear capabilities, but we're still going to have nuclear capabilities because that's what's in the best interest of the world, so we say. So maybe these beings are coming here and saying, no, none of you can have these. It's bad news. Trust us. And our government doesn't want the people to know that, because then the people would say, well, if they're coming all this way to warn us about that, maybe we should listen. Mm-hmm. And that's going to cost a lot of money and force them to give up a lot of power. But I absolutely, I could go down all these rabbit holes all night long, but I thank you very much for the call.
Thanks.
Have a great night. And if anybody else wants to call in, 508-996-0500, 877-996-1420. Matt, you're not somebody that's really a big believer in UFOs, are you? We haven't really talked about it a lot.
I don't know. I think I might be on the fence about it.
Have you ever seen one?
No, I don't think I have. I mean, I've probably seen some lights in the sky, but I think I've chalked them all up to either a plane or, I mean, nowadays you just chalk it up to a drone.
So I got to tell you, I found the coolest thing this week. And I don't know, this isn't going to help us find any outer space craft, but it's just still awesome to watch.
I was going to say, is it a UFO detector? Because they have them on Amazon.
No, but I might have to look into that.
They're pretty cheap, but they only 3-star reviews.
Well, that's maybe people are just using them wrong. Maybe. You don't know. Has George Takei written a review? Oh, I should mention that he's going through some Me Too stuff right now.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but once I start reading the funny reviews, that's when it'll start to blow up a little bit. But I might get a UFO. If whoever's making them, if you're listening, if you want to send us one, we will certainly, we'll certainly try it out. Can't guarantee you that we'll detect anything, but we'll try it. No, this is actually an app that allows you to watch from the International Space Station.
Oh, really?
It's a free app. I mean, it has a little ad at the bottom of the screen, so you can pay like 99 cents or $1.99 to get the full version, but I'm cheap. But it has an HD camera, I think, on the back end, and an SD camera on the front end, and it also has access to the NASA feed from the ISS. And there's some videos of them doing like spacewalks, and there's a live chat room in there that you can join in. Oh, that's the UFO detector?
Yeah.
Oh, that just looks like something that would definitely detect UFOs.
Right, totally.
It's not something that would just like light up occasionally for no reason. But so the ISS app allows you to watch at any given time. Now, when it's nighttime where the space station is flying over, you can't really see anything. So it's not worth checking out, but it will send you an alert when the ISS goes into daylight, so that like at that point you can go in and check it out. And it's fascinating to watch, and it's really peaceful to watch too. And you can see, and they show you a map on one side and then the video feed on the other, and you can open the video feed up to the full screen, but you can see like when it's flying over your house. And it's really cool that you can see it and then go outside and watch for it, because you know how you can see the ISS flying by. So
they're just riding a Tesla around the ISS. Is that what they're doing?
Maybe. Yeah. It's absolutely worth checking out though, and you can download it for free from your app store. I have it on my phone, and I've been opening it up constantly since I downloaded it the other day. 508-996-0500. Good evening. You're next on Spooky South Coast.
Good evening, Tim.
How are you?
I've been wanting to call for a while.
Well, thank you for doing so.
Your show for the last 6 months, I think. I'm out in the west here. I'm actually in Montana. That critter you got, that's a hybrid. I've seen those before. I used to hunt a lot. Sorry, my throat is a little dry from a cold.
Same here.
But I wanted to say to Mac, I guess, I can tell you, I didn't believe in UFOs either, up until July 4th, 2010. 7 people, one of them being the mayor, were standing outside at a little barbecue thing, and I just happened to look over somebody's shoulder, and I said, "What is that?" And it looked like a long cylinder. It was white, and I went and got my binoculars out of my truck because I hunt quite a bit, so I carry them with me. And this object was a cylinder, like a tube, probably 150 feet long. I'm estimating because it was about 4,000 feet from us.
Okay.
And we know that because we were at 4,500 feet elevation, just below a 6,500-foot peak. And this thing was about twice the distance. Well, it was like, the same amount of distance above the peak. And we watched this thing go by, and I couldn't believe it. I was like, what is that thing? It was about 35, 40 feet in diameter. And when I looked at it with the binoculars, it had fins running along the length of it. I mean, they weren't very big, maybe a couple feet in comparison to its overall size, but they didn't look like they were... There wasn't a motor. There wasn't anything ejecting propulsion or anything. It was very quiet, never made a sound. And everybody looks at it through binoculars. None of us could really believe it. And we went back to our business about 10 minutes later after it passed. And sure enough, here comes another one. And at that point, the mayor got in his vehicle and left. Never told us where he was going. He said he had to take care of something. So it was very unusual. I'd never seen anything like it before or since. But since I've been out west, I can tell you I have over 50-some pictures of unidentified objects, triangular, spheres, all kinds of things, and they're not like fuzzy or any of that. They're pretty clear. They get pretty close to the area that I live in, and so I'd say in the last 8 years I've had at least 60 encounters somewhere in that neighborhood.
Wow.
And it's been, I thought it was like, oh my gosh, what's going on? And from my neighbors, it's been going on forever. Their parents and their grandparents, people that have ranched in, this area for, since the 1880s, they tell stories about, craft landing.
And it's the same type of craft that you still see now?
No, not necessarily the ones that landed, but the shapes that I see more alike are kind of like the spheres. And I'm not talking like a little dot. I'm talking about a 15 to 30 foot across, sitting about 500 yards off the ground, and nothing coming off of it but light. And it's scary. It really is scary because we're wide open spaces. There's not many trees here.
Right.
So there's not exactly anywhere to run to when you encounter something like this. You come over a hilltop and there they are. It's like you almost kind of like slam on the brakes and want to spin around and leave. But everybody here, and I mean everybody, hardly anybody really talks about it because everybody's kind of encountered them. But there's a lot of activity in northeast Montana. And it seems to come from our south and west. Now, we don't know if it's government. We don't know who's doing what. But if we have something like that, they're really holding back a lot because it's unbelievable that something that large, usually they're anywhere from 100 to 200 feet across. And even the triangular shapes are about 200 feet across.
And you said you have photos of these?
Yeah, I have a photo of it actually approaching towards where I was in my backyard, and I took a snapshot. But then the power started going out in town, and I just kind of like, whoa, what was that? And I could see this thing getting closer. I looked down at my freshly charged phone, and it was dead. Then, as it got closer, I felt a pulsing static charge, I guess you would say. I don't know how to explain that, but if you could ever have that tingly feeling come in waves, it really makes you wonder, what are they doing and how are they doing it? And of course, I'm just one person out here, and I know that other people have seen it. Very few people talk about it, but I can walk up to almost anybody in this town and say, did you see anything here lately? And they could tell me, 2 weeks ago or a month ago or whatever. And it's, I've just kind of stopped getting surprised anymore.
Well, yeah, when it's that frequent, sure. If you would feel comfortable, could you send us those photos?
I could send you some of them. They're like on 4 different sources.
Okay.
I've got them on laptops. I had them on old phones that I updated and saved on the laptop, and I have other phones that I still have that I'd have to download them over to the laptop to get them to you. But I think one phone, the one I'm actually using, has a few on it.
Yeah, and anything you can send to us you can send it to me at tim@spookysouthcoast.com, and we can actually show it to some people who might be able to tell you if it's similar to what's been seen other places, or if they have any idea of any known Earth-based craft that it might be related to, or anything like that. I mean, I'd love to show it to my co-host Matt Moniz at least and get his take.
Hey, no problem. I'll send a few of them here in a few minutes, and then y'all can kind of like speculate it like I have. I really can't tell you what they are. I wish I knew, but I can tell you this: none of them make a sound. None of them eject any kind of propulsion. No trails, anything behind them, nothing. Or at least nothing I've seen.
Wow.
I've seen them during the day.
That's very interesting stuff, and I look forward to checking those out. Thank you for calling us and sharing with us.
No problem. Thank you.
All right, take care. 508-996-0500, 877-996-1420. Good evening. You're next on Spooky South Coast.
Hey, good evening, Tim. Been a long time.
Yeah, how you been?
Going through a lot. Lost a relative a couple of months ago, just kind of bouncing back.
Sorry to hear that.
I went down to Point Judith for Island today with a Fisherman's Memorial. There is next to the lighthouse.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a good old-fashioned mason job, but I double-sealed it, and I put pictures and stuff of the different captains that were in my family. And this brother had fished. He had never been a captain. And I threw it out. The current was going right to left. Wind was coming straight in. And inevitably, in about 20 minutes, it worked its way 50 feet offshore.
Oh.
I was, like, so touched. And then I just came in behind this gentleman. Where was it he said he was from?
Montana.
Okay, up in Montana, yeah. A few friends of mine lived up there, and about 10 years ago, they came here for the summertime, and they were telling me that they had seen some sights. And his like you said, they talk among themselves, but they really don't talk about it too much. And he said, there's this kind of weird feeling. It's almost like no one's going to believe us.
Mm-hmm.
And but I was great to hear that he's going to send you some stuff to have it checked out.
Yeah.
Remember about 8 years ago, I think it was, there was a Delta flight out of Boston, out of Logan, going to Toronto. And on the right side, about 20 minutes out of Boston, I remember it making the news, and like you were saying, it was in the news, and also it wasn't. There was a couple of former and current military men and a couple of Air Force men, and they all said they brought to the attention of the stewardesses without getting everybody upset. There's something trailing us, and that's not a military jet. We know what military jets are. And they went and told the captain. The captain called back to Logan and up to Toronto to basically ask, are you monitoring anything close to us? And then they had to say it 2 or 3 times. And then they said, we believe there's something a couple hundred yards to our right. And no matter which way we turn our course, it stays at that same place. And then, so they were going to send up jets. And moments before the jets got in the area, they just went straight up.
Oh, wow.
And that was like 8 years ago. And it was a Delta out of Boston going to Toronto.
I don't remember hearing about that, but then again, I don't remember what I ate for dinner an hour ago. So
Yeah, there you go.
But I'm sure if I do some research, do some Google searching, I'll find it. Or
yeah, and especially when you know there's former or current military people and they're saying yeah, they know by speaking out of quote unquote talking crazy, they're going to get booted, and then the other side is that it gets shut down. Massport never made a statement. Massport referred it to national and then to the military, and they said because the military had sent up a jet at their request, everything was turned over to them. And so I saw it like 2 or 3 different times in the Herald and in the Globe.
Well, those are the stories that always get my attention, is when you have somebody that knows more than we do about what could be up in the skies, and they're saying, hold on, wait a minute. That's
right, you have an Air Force fighter jet guy saying that is not a jet.
Right.
That is nothing that I know. Or
an Edgar Mitchell who's up in space and says, now, wait a minute, I know all the stuff that we have in our program, and this thing that I'm seeing out the window is not anything that we have. You know, those are the people that I tend to perk up and listen to. There's so many reports that you get of UFOs that, people just don't realize, it's a plane and they just saw weird lights on the sky and didn't know what it was. But when you have people that know the difference and can tell the difference, and they're still telling you, we should probably be calling this in, then that's something that I pay attention to.
Absolutely. Have a safe and wonderful weekend, my friend.
You as well. Take care.
Okay, God bless.
508-996-0500, 877-996-1420. We still have time if you want to get involved in the discussion tonight. Paranormal Open Lines on Spooky South Coast. And I want to let everybody know, too, if you're watching on Spooky TV at SpookySouthCoast.com, or maybe you're listening on podcast and you've never actually experienced the video, it's not just each week that we take this show, we have the show live, and then we put the show up there on YouTube. Matt takes the time to go in and cut out little clips and to find some of the best parts of the discussion. So maybe you don't have the time to sit and listen to the whole show yet, and you just want to get some of the highlights from it. You can go and you can get all those clips. And if you want to be part of the show when it goes live, and maybe you just don't remember on a Saturday night to come into the website and to jump into the YouTube chat room on Saturday nights, well, you can get an automatic alert. Every time we go live or whenever we post a new video, you can get alerts from YouTube. All you have to do is go to our YouTube channel and subscribe. And we would really appreciate it tonight if you would do so, because we're super close to breaking our next milestone with our subscriptions. So if you can go to YouTube, if you're on YouTube now watching the show, or maybe you're listening to this later on, just go and hit that subscribe button, and you'll be doing us a huge favor, but you'll also be doing yourself a favor, because then you will get notifications every time we go live, and you'll know every time we have new videos and new clips up there for you to check out. The other thing that you can do too as well is you can follow us on Twitter. You can find us at SpookySC. You can follow us on Instagram at Spooky_South Coast. Matt puts up some great stuff on the Instagram all week long. Funny stuff. He puts up some clips up there. My favorite, just some of the memes that he finds and the stuff that he puts up there is hilarious. I wish you could you can, I'm sure you can teach me, just re-gram out the stuff that you put up there, because there's stuff that I just look at it and laugh out loud. And also, I don't usually plug myself here, but I'm super close to breaking a Twitter milestone myself. So if you can follow me at Tim Weisberg, Weisberg, if you can follow me on Twitter, you'd be doing me a huge favor, because I'm just about to hit my next plateau here, my next big level. I'm going to hit the big 5, Matt. 5,000 followers on Twitter. Yeah, it's a big deal for me. Like, you look at other paranormal.
You have 9 left.
Other paranormal 9 left for Twitter.
Yeah.
Really? Wow, that's chumped up. I'm going to thank the Spaced Out Radio fans for that, the space travelers for that, because I think that's where I got pushed over the edge there with that. But yeah, I would appreciate it, just because, I know other paranormal talk show hosts have more followers, but they just stick to the main stuff. They're promoting the show, promoting paranormal topics. On my Twitter, you never know what I'm going to put up there. I put up some weird stuff, some goofy stuff, whatever random thoughts are in my head, because I think that's what Twitter's for. It's not just about promoting yourself. It's about having some fun and interacting with people.
What's the story behind the towel with the sunglasses?
So that's a very interesting story, because you've never been on a cruise, right?
No.
So, and I had never been on one before. So the first time that I left my room on the first Strange Escapes cruise a couple of years ago, John Tenney is my roommate. And so, when I first got on the ship the first day, I was a little nervous, because I didn't know what a cruise was going to be like. I didn't know what it was going to be like to be on a ship in the ocean, be rocking around. And I'm a little bit worried, because I've never been that far from land, So we leave the room. We have to go out for the muster. Then I walk around and kind of get my bearings a little bit as we're starting to hit the water. I go out. This was in the Mississippi River, so I go out and I'm watching the Mississippi River. And we go back to our rooms, and they had brought our luggage in, and they had kind of made up the room a little bit. And on a cruise, every time that they come in and they give you new towels, they take towels and make some sort of a different animal with the towel.
Do they really?
So there's and they're intricate. They're really intricate designs. And then this is at least with Norwegian, they actually have a workshop the last day of the cruise or toward the end of the cruise where you can go and they'll teach you how to make the towel animals that they made all week. But there's elephants, there's monkeys, rhinos, all different kinds of, and we would take photos of all the different animals they would make, because you'd have a different one each time you came back. And they would look around the room, and they'd find different things that you've left in the room, and they'd use them as props with the animals. So that was our steward, Resley. Resley Tan, if you're listening, you're the man.
So what is this animal?
That's exactly right. That's exactly the point. We have no idea what it is. It's just some weird towel creature wearing John Tenney sunglasses.
Right.
So last night when I'm on Spaced Out Radio, John Tenney saw on Twitter that we were all tweeting about it, And so he decided to call in briefly and join in the conversation. But he said, listening to all the people that are on Space Out Radio and staring at this picture of Tim Weisberg with a towel animal.
It kind of looks like one of those the Muppets, like the yep.
Could have been. Resley could have known because he knew that we were paranormal people, so he could have made that. But Resley was pretty awesome. And I think I know Tenny and I have told this story on the show before, but for those of you who aren't familiar with Tenny's story about the elf, John Tenney has been dealing with an elf for a number of years. So somebody actually asked him if he wanted to go out and see an elf, and took him out to see an elf, and he saw something that he's pretty sure was an elf. And then the guy told him, like, now that you've seen the elf, you'll see elves, and elves will be part of your life. And so he's had an elf that has like done damage to his home, and he's had these elf encounters ever since. And elves and gnomes and trolls keep coming up in his already very weird life. And so, like I said, our steward was Resley, and he was just a great guy. So when we get back to, we get back home, I wanted to look up Resley on Facebook. And I find his Facebook account, but he only has one photo. And what photo is it? Him with a statue of an elf gnome type creature. The only photo on his entire Facebook. And I screenshot it and I sent it to Tenny and I said, this is just too weird. And he said, welcome to my life. Like, you're into this now. Like, you're going to be part of all this now. And it's been true. And of course, last year when we went to Bermuda, I found the same statue. So I had to take my photo with it. So I have that up as my Facebook profile photo. And actually, we're going to be going to Bermuda next year. Myself and Stephanie Porter. We're all going to be part of the Wicked Waters cruise, and you can get your tickets for that. You can reserve your room right now by only having to put $50 down if you use my promo code Tim. You can use Stephanie's promo code Burke if you want, but she's not here, so I'm going to push my promo code. If you go to wickedwaterscruise.com, you can reserve your spot to go in through the Bridgewater Triangle, through the Bermuda Triangle with us to Bermuda next May 2019. And as part of our paranormal cruise, and you can get your room right now for just $50 down by putting in my promo code Tim. So you can do that and join us, and I will take you to where the troll, gnome, elf statue is, and we can all take photos with it, and we will all send them to Tenny. Although, I'm trying to see if we can get Tenny to go. So there you have it. That's my cruise plug for the night. 508-996-0500, 877-996-1420 if you want to call in and share some thoughts in the final 5 minutes that we have. Matt, I did want to talk about this list that you pulled out here from the Huffington Post. It's a little bit of an older story. It's from last year. Well, actually, 2 years ago and then updated last year. But these are 5 questions that this writer has for ghosts. And I'm not going to get into this person's discussion about them, but I will just bring up the questions. Question 1, why are none of you animals? Well, those of us who research ghosts, we know that there are animal ghosts, especially if you have a beloved pet who passes away. I swear to God, I still hear my cat. He had a jangly tag on his collar. He had a spiked collar, like a leather spiked collar, but he had a tag in case he got out because he wasn't an outdoor cat. So he did not like to go outdoors. So if he got outdoors, I knew he'd want to come back right away. So he had a tag with his address and phone number on it. And I would always hear that at night, when he was running around the house, and I still hear that. And he died 2 years ago. So, it's a very distinctive sound, but there are animal ghosts. Why are you always from way, way back in the past? Well, that's not always true either. As we talked about a little bit last night on Spaced Out Radio, I think there's a time limit to the energy that holds together as a ghost. So you can't have a ghost that's from too far, way, way back. But I also don't think you have a lot of modern ghosts because I think it has to be far enough away from us to have a personal connection to it, unless it's somebody that's trying to reach out to us personally. But there's like a sweet spot in terms of the energy. And it seems like that sweet spot is coinciding with, 100 to 200 years ago. Just in my experience. I'm still trying to figure out why that is. Number 3, why are you always so vague? Well, it's not that easy to draw forth the energy that they need to be able to communicate with you. So it's not like they can tell you their whole life story in one EVP. It's not like they can, spell out everything when they're, writing on the mirror in your bathroom. So they're doing what they can. Number 4, why do you have such scary voices? Well, that's just stereotyping. That's just being prejudiced. You're bigoted against ghosts. They don't all have scary voices. Some of them sound scary because you're hearing a ghost talk.
It's the way you record it.
But they're not all scary. I've had plenty that are perfectly normal sounding. I've also had some that are little kids, and those are the ones that scare the hell out of me, because getting the sound of a little kid on your tape recorder is terrifying to me. They're probably very nice kids, or they could just be demons pretending to be kids. I'm just kidding about that. Not a big demon guy. And the last question that I just lost was, why do you never do anything nice to make your presence known? Well, that's not even true at all. Because there's all kinds of little ways that they let you know that they're there that are not negative. There's plenty of stories where they give little positive reinforcements, little positive signs that they're there. This, I didn't want to say this blogger. This is a lazy blogger. And you conveniently left the person's name off of this, so I can't trash them on the air.
Oh, it is at the top.
Is at the end?
It's at the top.
At the top. Oh, that's his name? Or her name?
Her name, yep.
Pascali Day? Pascali Day, you are a lazy, lazy blogger. If I was the digital managing editor of the person that wrote this blog, I would say...
do some more research.
Do some more research. That's garbage.
Well, it is the Huffington Post.
I just threw those papers. And now I'm going to have to pick them up now that the show is over. We are just about out of time for this week's edition of Spooky South Coast. As I mentioned, next week, we do have that event at Fort Adams with Bright Star Promotions if you want to come along. It's a really cool place. I highly recommend it. But we'll be back in a couple of weeks with an all-new show. Hopefully we'll have the Spooky crew back together. As I mentioned earlier, you can follow us on Twitter. You can subscribe to us on YouTube. Please subscribe to us on YouTube. You can also follow us on Instagram as well. You can subscribe to the podcast on iTunes or wherever you get podcasts, and we will promise to keep bringing you fresh, interesting, hopefully interesting and entertaining paranormal content. And we didn't even talk about snacks this week. Probably because I had some tacos before the show, so I wasn't hungry, so I wasn't preoccupied. But that will do it for this week's show. Email us anytime, spookycrew@spookysouthcoast.com. Until next week, for Matt, for Stephanie, I'm Tim. Stay spooktacular.